This is ABC15 Mornings.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. A California high school choir taken to social media to perform their recital after it was canceled due to the coronavirus.
I'm not going to lie to you, that gave me chicken skin, made me a little misty-eyed
right?
here. We need to start off with positive things amongst everything that's happening. So this performance quickly going viral. The students singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, of course, saying that they just want to help spread some hope. And that's what we want to do, and that's why we wanted to start your morning off with that message of hope, because there's plenty of information and difficult news to get to you, but if we can start you off with a smile, then I think our goal has been accomplished. The time now, 6 o'clock on your Saturday morning. We're glad you're starting it off with us. I'm Nohelani Graff.
And I'm Mark Thompson, and we want to get you caught up on that most accurate forecast.
Exactly. So when you step out the door this morning, it's cold out there. In fact, Phoenix 6 degrees cooler at this hour than we were 24 hours ago. Places like Casa Grande, Tucson, Safford, Window Rock, the Grand Canyon, all more than 10 degrees colder than this time 24 hours ago. So it's a frigid start, but also a gorgeous start to the morning because our skies are clear. Live view of the McDowell Mountains, official sunrise time in 20 minutes. And that is also why our temperatures are so chilly out there. 47 in the Phoenix metro area, but we're down to 42 in Chandler and Goodyear, Mesa and Glendale in the mid 40s right now. But we do have a nice warm up on the way. I'm going to talk about that coming up in that most accurate forecast in just moments.
All right, now to the latest on the coronavirus. 655 cases in the state of Arizona, with 13 deaths here. Almost 400 of those cases are in Maricopa County and more than 100 are in Pima County. And you can expect that number to keep going up as we continue to get more test results in. And of course, one of the big questions right now is, will Arizona follow other states and issue a lockdown order?
Of course, we've seen that just to our west, in California even. So now our ABC15's Nicole Grigg is asking Governor Ducey directly about that, as well as data on which he is basing some of his decisions.
Is Arizona safe right now without a lockdown?
Yes, Arizona is safe, but we have an issue here with community spread. So if people are at home, that's the safest place that they can be. They should social distance or physical distance. If they need to go to the grocery store, I'd ask them to buy a week's worth of groceries for a week's worth of consumption. But if you're not sick and you want to get outside, there's nobody out here. The place is basically shut down, but you should not gather in large groups. You should not gather in groups of larger than 10. I'd say you should not gather in any groups. You should practice this physical distancing.
We're also learning this week that the state is tracking predictions and models. This is the first time we've been able to ask the governor directly.
But you're the governor. You had to have seen these models. You have to know how many people are expected to die in Arizona.
I've seen the models, and I've seen best case and I've seen worst case, and I'm aiming for best case.
So what's the worst case?
These are all projections. They are all projections and predictions. You know where we are today with 665 cases. We want to spread and reduce the curve, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thanks, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole.
And the governor says if he needs to, he will change his directives. He also spoke to us about testing, and he says that it is being prioritized right now, and testing, it's going to ramp up rapidly coming up here in the near future.
Now this morning, an Arizona mayor is defying the governor. Tucson Mayor Regina Romero ordering the closure of all non-essential businesses, going against Governor Ducey's orders. The governor has so far refused to issue a shelter-in-place order, and he told local mayors that they're going to have to check with the state first before issuing any orders of their own. But on Thursday, Flagstaff Mayor Coral Evans ordered additional restrictions in her city. This morning, Romero is now doing the same, saying we cannot afford to wait any longer. COVID-19 is not waiting, and neither can we.
And new this morning, hospitals in northern Arizona, they're expected to reach capacity today. According to the Arizona Daily Star, Flagstaff Medical Center and Tuba City Regional Health, they will be full because of COVID-19 patients. Patients in Coconino County is also looking to declare a crisis of care emergency and seek assistance from the National Guard. Now, back here in the Valley, hospitals, they're already dealing with so much and they can't afford issues like this. Talk about terrible timing. The emergency department at Banner University Medical Center, Phoenix, they are closed through the weekend after a pipe burst and then flooded the entire facility. Patients there are now being diverted to other hospitals.
Now, for the broader view across the nation, the number of cases has certainly surged. Right now, there are more cases here in the United States than anywhere else in the world. The death toll reaching at least 1,500 nationwide. In California, the CDC still investigating the cause of death for a 17-year-old boy, in fact, who officials say contracted COVID-19 and went to an urgent care for treatment.
He didn't have insurance, so they did not treat him and sent him to AB Hospital. But by the time he got there, it was too late.
It's an absolutely heartbreaking result. A lot of areas here in the United States are preparing for a possible surge in cases. In fact, LA's mayor saying that his city is just days away from a situation like the one that is unfolding right now in New York City. Also, new data from the CDC shows the coronavirus is starting to affect younger generations more. The agency's report shows that nearly 40% of those hospitalized are between the ages of 20 and 54. That means more young people are getting seriously sick than initially thought. The CDC says the greatest risk does remain the older population. About 80% of Americans who have died from COVID-19 were 65 and older.
The largest stimulus bill in United States history is now law. So the question is, when will we see those benefits?
Because this could make a big difference for a lot of families right now. Daryl Forges is breaking it all down.
With the stroke of President Trump's pen, history made as the more than $2 trillion stimulus bill became law.
This is going to save companies that are incredible companies, but that are going to need some help because of what happened.
The stimulus plan suspends student loan payments, adds protections against foreclosure, and also helps the airline and travel industries.
The legislation extends a vital lifeline to American families and American workers.
Single individuals could receive as much as $1,200 if you make $75,000 or less a year. Couples may get as much as $2,400. That amount would.
And to get that relief package passed in the House, members of Congress had to rush back to Washington, D.C. In fact, 3 of Arizona's representatives were on the same American Airlines red-eye flight Thursday night, and it turned out to be very eventful. Apparently, a passenger passed out in the aisles. That's when the flight attendant asked if anyone on board had any medical training and the background, and then that's when a congressman, Ruben Gallego and Paul Gosar, answered the call there.
Yeah, thankfully, Mr. Gallego has training through the military. All right, now we want to talk about the Arizona Muslim community because they are coming together to help neighbors in need, even going so far as to deliver groceries to the elderly and homebound from a community food pantry. ABC15's Sonu Wasu is showing us how they're putting faith into action.
We are standing in our local food pantry. We are operating 4 food pantries in the valley. Whoever comes on our door, we never reject anybody. Most of our recipients are either low-income families. It could be African American, Hispanic, and refugee families from different countries.
It's a small community food pantry tucked away in a strip mall in Chandler.
We have oils, and we have sugar, and we have some cereals.
Every week, volunteers gather to pack up food and household supplies. But since COVID-19, like so many other nonprofits, they too have seen a big surge in the number of people who now need help.
It hits a core for all of us, so it brings you back to what's the most basic need. It's not the fancy car, it's not the fancy house, it's the basic of food.
The group partners with another nonprofit, the Arizona Muslim Alliance, to deliver the much-needed supplies to those who are homebound. We caught up with Ahmed Abu Hussein in Tempe as he was shopping for an elderly person now unable to leave their home.
We're all in this together. We're all one community.
These volunteers are also struggling to get much-needed supplies to keep their pantries stocked. With so many stores no longer taking online orders, it's up to them to get in line at local stores and buy the necessities that so many of us are struggling to find these days. From toilet paper to basic staples like spaghetti sauce and flour. but they do the best they can.
Our whole operation is to, like as Prophet said, that spread peace and feed the hungry.
If you need a food box or would like to donate, just go to abc15.com for more information. Sonu Wasu, ABC15, Arizona.
You know, and that's the beauty in all of this, if we can find it, because that's what we got to try and do, is just neighbors coming together to help one another in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, coming up, we got a little heat in the forecast,
We
right?
do, yeah. We're going to warm up quite a bit in the coming days, so all the more reason, if you can, to maybe sit outside and wave at your neighbors from afar. Maybe you'll start a conversation with them from the sidewalk to your house. You know, keep that distance. Right now, it's cold, though, 47 degrees, so that'll be one of the big talkers of the day. It is a chilly start out there because we've got clear skies. Sunrise time officially at 6:20 this morning. We will warm up into the 70s today, though, and a few more high thin clouds will move in. It'll stay pretty mild, but despite any cloud cover, we will stay dry throughout the afternoon. So we're going to go ahead and give you that green light for our dog walking forecast all day long for you. Just make sure this morning that you've got a long sleeve because you're definitely going to need it. Then that warm up starts to settle in starting tomorrow, and we get warmer every day through the week. I'll show you just how warm we're going to start getting coming up in that full forecast.
All right, it is 6:11 on your Saturday morning, and coming up, crews continue to work on cleaning up a big mess on State Route 88. We'll have the very latest on Friday's rock slide that hit just east of the valley.
Plus, social distancing was created to keep your family healthy and stay safe during the coronavirus pandemic, of course. But in some homes, that stress, that closeness can be a trigger for acts of domestic violence. So we're going to hear from an expert this morning on how to recognize the risks.
All the video calls, all the emails, 5 things you can do right now to be most productive when you're working at home.
And a live view in Queen Creek of the Superstitions this morning. Clear skies as the sun gets closer to rising. We're going to talk more about that most accurate forecast for you on the other side of this break. Good morning. Stay with us, Arizona.
Welcome back, everybody. And we've got new images from the Mesa Fire Department after they responded to a home where fire broke out in someone's pool. It happened last night near Southern and Country Club Road. When crews arrived on scene, they found a pool full of debris and it was engulfed in flames. The fire was also spreading to the homeowner's back patio. Firefighters quickly put out the fire and no one was injured. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. Well, cleanup continues this morning after a rock slide just east of the valley. You're looking at video from the Cliff Castle chopper that was flying over State Route 88 yesterday near Roosevelt Lake. The highway is still shut down as crews are working to clear all of that debris. We'll let you know when they get it all cleaned up. And the coronavirus pandemic creating a local discussion about the closing of the Grand Canyon National Park. Now representatives Raul Grijalva is calling for an immediate shutdown of the popular destination. This comes after the Board of Supervisors in Coconino County made a similar request to ban all visitors from tourist hotspots.
And you know what? That's going to be something that we'll be talking about a little bit later in this show. Even right here in the valley, you're going to notice some changes settling in today if you're heading to any of our most popular hiking trails. I think overall, we've certainly started to see that some of those spots are getting really crowded. I know that people want to get outside, stretch their legs, get some fresh air, but you've still got to be mindful. If there are too many people there, then that's not the spot for you.
That's right. And you got to be able to keep that social distance from folks. And when you're crowded and not many places to go, then
yes,
can't do it.
But we do understand you want to get outside a little bit and try to do so safely because the weather is gorgeous right now. And the temperatures this weekend are going to be far more favorable than when we move through the rest of this week. Official sunrise time this morning is at 6:20, so just about 4 minutes away. Live view of the Papagos this morning as that sun starts to rise, and you notice super clear skies. That's why we're also very chilly across the valley. We're in the 30s right now in Buckeye, Wickenburg, Anthem, even at 38 degrees at this hour. We're in the low 40s in areas like Levine, sitting right at 40 degrees. Same with Apache Junction, and 42 degrees from Queen Creek through Chandler. Even in Ahwatukee, you're only at 45 degrees this morning. We've got very similar temperatures to our south and west. Casa Grande Grande down in the 30s this morning. Globe at 31 degrees. Same temperature for Safford. So you're both below freezing. Along our western border, mid-40s in places like Lake Havasu City, Bullhead City as well. But then to our north, we have some very cold spots. It is frigid in Flagstaff right now. 16 degrees. We're in the teens in the Grand Canyon, Window Rock as well. 20s in Heber and Show Low, even Sedona sitting right at that freezing mark this morning. Now, as we move through the afternoon and even as you start to wake up a little bit more, you might once again notice those itchy eyes and that runny nose, and that's because our pollen count still remaining high and will stay that way for the next couple of days. Mulberry, juniper, and ash are our main allergens. Now, here's what our warm-up looks like hour by hour. We will make our way into the 50s eventually, right around 8 o'clock this morning. We stay in the 50s through 10 o'clock, though. It's a slow warm-up today. 60s start to rear its head here in the valley right around 11 o'clock and through lunchtime. We stay in the upper 60s, finally hitting those 70s right between 3 and 5 o'clock this evening, but then we're going to cool down quickly once again. City by city, here's the warm-up. 71 in Peoria, Levine, and Ahwatukee, same temperature in Gilbert and Mesa. We're looking at 70 degrees in Fountain Hills, Scottsdale, and stretching out to Surprise, but all in our outlying valley cities here, it will be in the upper 60s. Wickenburg, Anthem, Cave Creek, right on through Apache Junction and Santan Valley, staying in the upper 60s for today. Our average for this time of year is 80 degrees, so we're still just about 10 degrees cooler than the average, and we're a ways off from the record of 95 that was set back in 1986, but we do have a big warm-up that is going to be on the way. Today, a forecast of 70 degrees in Casa Grande, 74 in Yuma, 72 in Lake Havasu City. We're warming just into the 50s in Prescott, Payson, and Sedona, and north of the rim, more 50s in Show Low, Winslow, and Page, but Flagstaff staying in the mid-40s for today. We'll also continue to have clear skies statewide until the middle of the afternoon. Then a few clouds will start to move in, high thin clouds. We stay dry here in the valley, though, and across northern Arizona. Tomorrow, we could see some scattered showers across northern Arizona, but we remain dry here in the valley, and our temperatures warm into the upper 70s, and then by Tuesday, the 80s are here. By Wednesday, we're getting closer to the upper 80s, and that's not even the warmest day of the week. I will show you just how close to the 90s we're going to come in that 7-day forecast in just a little bit, Mark.
Thank you. Working from home amid these uncertain times, well, sure, it gives you a chance to wear pajamas or maybe tackle your chores during your lunch break. But many are finding out that it's also bringing a set of new challenges. Joe lets you know the 5 things that you can be doing to stay productive.
Are you in constant video calls with coworkers, going through more emails than you ever have before, trying to stay in the loop working from home?
It's this first couple weeks that's probably going to be the hardest.
Bree Reynolds is with FlexJobs.com, which specializes in remote and work-from-home jobs. She says, number one, find the right way to communicate. And if you feel like you're over-communicating or not getting enough feedback from your team, say something now.
Is it phone calls? Is it video conferences? Is it just instant messaging throughout the day? Is it more meetings when you're first getting ramped up?
Second on the list, creating a dedicated workspace, like a table in the living room where you will only go to work. And if possible, find ways to make it feel like the office.
Let's say you had a little desk drawer at your office that had your chapstick and some scissors and tape and paper clips and whatever things you might need on a regular basis. Try to set up a little thing for yourself that's like that.
Third, make sure you know what equipment you need. Is your Wi-Fi strong enough? Which websites will you use, like Zoom for conferencing or Google Docs for storage? Test them out first. Fourth, reward yourself for getting things done. Instead of saying hi to a coworker, spend a few minutes with the dogs or getting coffee. And number 5, find a way to separate your work from the rest of the day. Bree says if you can, turn off email notifications on your phone.
I also found it important to set up a schedule when you're going to begin. In my case, when I'm going to do interviews, when I'm going to write, and when I'm going to end the workday. Go to abc15.com/letjoeknow for all of our virus-related stories. I'm investigator Joe Ducey. If you got a problem, let me know.
Well, have you thought about this? State prisons, they are also at a high risk for the spread of COVID-19, but are they prepared? The ABC15 investigators are pushing for answers. And some changes to the trails this weekend as people look to get outdoors while our state is still allowed to.
Between job losses and the kids being out of school, we know that this is a stressful time for a lot of people, and that can be a trigger for instances of domestic violence. So joining us today is Dr. Tasha Maneker from the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's talk a little bit about the risk that you guys are seeing right now with COVID-19 and the stress that comes with it.
Certainly. A concern for us during this time is that there might be an increase in domestic violence and other forms of violence in the home. Certainly when someone has experienced trauma or is currently experiencing trauma, any additional external stressors can heighten those triggers and those symptoms of PTSD. So that's certainly something our organization is mindful of during this time.
And that's something that we can see between spouses and even parents and children. Is that right?
That's correct.
So what has been the experience with your office right now and the hotline, and have you seen an increase in calls about domestic violence?
Sure. Our organization does have a helpline for survivors and other community members who are seeking resources in the state. And right now, it's a rough estimate, but we have seen about a 10% increase in calls at this time.
Wow. And that's always disheartening. But the important thing to know in that is that people are still able to call. You're saying that if someone finds themselves in a dangerous situation, that there are still resources despite some of the closures that we've seen and the social distancing.
Absolutely. I'm very thankful to report that our organization is still open. Our helpline is still available to survivors, as is our online chat. The National Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault hotlines are both open and running, as are all the domestic and sexual violence programs in the state at this time.
Now, I know from previous conversations before, when it comes to domestic violence, one characteristic is that your partner may try to isolate you from your friends and your family. And right now, people are self-isolating because they're supposed to. It's for their safety. So are there any other things that we can watch out for, be mindful of within our own families to try and get ahead of this so that we don't get to such a dire situation where someone has to call for help?
Certainly, I think it's important at this time for loved ones, friends, family, and neighbors and community members to be mindful and watchful if they're seeing anything that they're concerned about, and reaching out if they feel like someone may be harmed at home, and letting them know that there are resources available.
Yeah, it's all about finding that hope for them and giving them that strength to move forward and get into a healthy situation as well. Dr. Tasha Maneker, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us to know that there is help out there and that these resources are still available during what can become a critical time.